back to the Shardbreaker podcast. I'm your host, Midnight, and I am here with Mythic.
Hello.
Hello.
Darkness, why do you say hello for Mythic?
I'm mythic now.
You're okay, Mythic
alright.
and Mythic were apparently with us today. Thank you. We are on episode 8 of Elantris, chapters 36 through 46. We have 11 chapters because a bunch of them were really short this week. So yeah, let's get into it. So we start with Harathan's point of view. He's on his 5th day in Elantris, and he's basically feeling like he's about to die of dehydration, and he's having delusions of Dilaf, Serene, and even Jadath. And however, his delusions soon turn to memories of the Dakor monastery, where he remembers dark cubicles the size of a closet, screams, bestial agony, and chanting with a strange power to it. Harathan thinks about how Dakor Monastery's specialty is to train demons. So, yeah. We've had a lot of hints to Dakor Monastery. Do you have any new thoughts about it, considering Harathan's memories?
They're satanic.
I mean, in a way, like, I wouldn't be surprised, like, if that was an accurate overview of, like, how that worked, but more like their view on what satanic would be, you know?
Because we know that, like, they've trained assassins and warriors, and I don't remember what the other one was, and then, yeah, this one, Harathan says, trains demons.
Maybe it's, like, the more, like, darker side of that religion.
Yeah, sounds pretty fucked up. Just absolute screaming and bestial agony. That's sounds like fun times, right?
Right. So basically, what's happening in Elantris?
What if it does involve? What if it does involve Elantris?
Oh, you think they have like their own version of Elantrians?
What if Elantrians are actually angels that have now fallen? You have demons, so I mean, it'd be set to put that there might be angels.
So do you think they're like experimenting on Elantrians, or do they have like their own form of Elantrians, or
Maybe.
You know what? I think they were. Okay, so here's one of my like little tiny theories.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that does have to do with like experimenting on Elantrians, specifically because like he seems to have like knowledge on them already, like a lot more knowledge than like average people, and like especially the fact that like he was able to,
Mask himself.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I wouldn't be surprised if like that was the thing there. So.
Wait, sorry, you're talking about Harathan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because we know Harathan, yeah, was at Dakor Monastery, and then he had to leave partway through. Like he couldn't handle it, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And he went to one of the other ones instead.
Yeah, one of the non-satanic ones.
I see. So Harathan's delirium then breaks the next afternoon, and he realizes he has stubble. He looks at himself in the wine flask and sees that his splotches are gone as well. He notes that Fortin's potion, which had been to mimic the curse of Elantrians, had finally worn off. So yeah, I think Mythic had predicted that it was the potion that made him an Elantrian.
Yeah, like I stated the fact that if he really did turn into a Elantrian, why would he walk into the church just like, aha, hello, like showing himself off?
Mm-hmm. Are you a little disappointed, Darkness? I know you had a whole bunch of theories like, oh, he killed himself and then became an Elantrian because of his seance.
Well, yes, at that point, but
I mean, your theory could still be correct. It just didn't happen to him.
It's because I know what happens like after, and I'm
Later.
just like comparing notes, because like not physical notes, because only nerds write those. But
well, I guess me and you are nerds.
Yeah.
Like I know what happens, and I'm just like it's starting to make more sense, like how that like potion works in general.
I see.
Yeah.
Like yeah, exactly. I understand what you're saying.
I can't go far into it until we hit that.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's fine.
Until we get to there, but like I get what you're saying. Like it definitely makes more sense on why or how that potion would work. But I don't know. I still find it a cop out.
But it makes sense with Harathan's plans. Like he was like,
yeah.
And he says he was originally going to use it on Dilaf, which I wonder what would have happened if Dilaf became an Elantris.
Honestly, he probably would have killed himself before the 5 days are up.
But would it work? No,
but yeah,
because they're not actually Elantrians.
Yes, so. I know.
But I'm pretty sure he didn't want Dilaf eventually to be the one who takes it, because you don't want Dilaf to be considered like amazing for having been cured after everything he's done. He's like, I don't wanna do that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to it. I was
Yep,
also
that's it.
confused on some of his other plans that he does, so
Hmm.
Mm,
till it actually worked out well.
Yeah. So Harathan then gathers his strengths and shouts out that he's been healed. However, no one responds, and Harathan is surprised to see there are no guards on the walls. He screams again, and finally the gate opens slightly, and the guard captain glances in and shouts in surprise that Harathan is actually healed. He opens the gate wider, and a small group of guards watch as Harathan walks out of Elantris. He says the guard captain will be compensated by Jadis' servants for letting him out, as apparently normally they don't let anyone out. Although I don't think they've ever had anyone be healed either, so they don't really have protocol for it. Harathan is then told that the rest of the guards are with Lord Telri, as once Iadon's funeral's over, he will be the new king. So what do you think would have happened if he had never bribed the guards? Do you think he would have even gotten out?
no, I, mm. That brings up an interesting like idea of like, what if he got in and couldn't get out?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
how would he survive in there? Because he's gonna need food, especially if he's recovered. Like, actually need it, not want it.
Yeah, he's gonna actually need like water and food.
Yeah. Hmm.
So Harathan and the guard captain then walk through the city. People watch and walk with them, shocked by Harathan's healing. He notices Serene glancing out of a carriage window, and he feels a sense of fulfillment that rivaled when he became a Gjorn, because there was no chance that Serene had planned for this. Yeah, their competition between each other is just like, he's like, God damn, this feels good to like beat her. She definitely didn't expect this coming. You guys have any notes on that?
I feel like they're both gonna get fucked up in general. Like, they're over here having their own little squabble, while they don't realize that the whole fucking world around them is probably gonna fuck them over, and they're both gonna end up like either teaming up or one of them is gonna die, like
Hmm.
die.
Oh, I'm sorry. Apparently, I'm my mic was being stupid. I said I hope Harathan dies, to be honest, but well,
Hmm.
that's just because I don't like him.
What do you mean? Wrath is one of the best, most interesting characters.
To you, maybe.
So once he gets back to the chapel, he speaks to the people that have been following him. He tells them that Jadis tested him and he was healed for believing. He then goes into the chapel and sinks to his knees in front of the altar in prayer. He thinks that he doesn't feel bad for faking the miracle and that although Fortin's potion had caused the curse, it was still Jadis that was the reason the plan worked out, because he was like, oh, the timing of the guards actually being there and like I didn't die before
Bruh.
the potion wore off and everything. He's like, that was Jadis' plan. So he's got he's like, yes, my faith. Um, and then Dilaf enters and falls to his knees in front of Harathan, who had just stood. He apologizes for doubting him and now sees why he was chosen to be a Gjorn. As Dilaf rises, Harathan notes that Dilaf's eyes show confusion, but he was not pleased. So, what do you think Dilaf is thinking regarding Harathan's healing? Do you think he suspects Harathan faked the Shroud taking him?
For sure.
I feel
Like,
like he suspects something, but I don't know if he suspects exactly what it is.
what if like, yeah, I think he just like suspects stuff like in general.
Hmm.
Like, there's definitely been foul play there.
Yeah, because Dilaf was like, God damn. He was probably like, hey, I can openly hate Harathan now. Oh, wait, never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it seemed too convenient in his eyes that
Hmm.
that happened, especially when he was like starting to gain power,
Yeah, because we
like
know
real
Dilaf is a
power.
lot smarter and older than he seems, so he's planned a lot of things. So Harathan then goes to his chambers and sees all his possessions are piled in a corner. So obviously they were like, oh yeah, time to package stuff up and take over. He hurries to find the box the Seon is in. The wooden box is broken open, but the second box, although quite scratched up and dented, did not seem to have been opened. Inside are the three other poison vials, two of them broken, and the Seon confirms that no one had opened the box while he was gone. Harathan is relieved and he drinks some wine before falling asleep. So do you? I'm assuming, and I think you guys can assume too, that Dilaf was probably the one trying to get into the box and ransacking Harathan's room. Do you think Dilaf knows what was in the box? Do you think he has like suspicions?
I don't think so. I don't think he made it that far.
If he could get in the box, I doubt he knows what's in the box.
Hmm.
What if the sound was like, please don't open it?
Please stop. My master will be upset with me. You're breaking the poison vials, please.
Oh my god.
Um, so when Harathan eventually wakes up, it's dark out, and he summons a priest named Dothkin. Hrathen confirms that Dothkin was trained at Rathbore Monastery, where the assassins are trained. And Hrathen shows the final poison vial and says he needs use of Dothkin's skills. When asked who the poison is for, Hrathen just smiles. And we do learn later who the final poison vial is for.
Wait, so when we were discussing the box and how it was like open and some sides were broken and stuff, there was exposed broken vials, right?
So there's two boxes. So there's the wooden box. The wooden box was broken open, and then there's a metal box inside the wooden box. The metal box was not opened. It was just dented and scratched, and inside the metal box with the Seon were the poison vials. And so there was 3 vials in there, 2 of them broken, 1 unbroken. But they were not like exposed to anyone but the Seon.
Well, that's convenient that one of them was left unbroken, you know?
That's why I said it was a cop-out.
It's plot armor.
Yep, pretty much. Vials have plot armor.
So
anyway, we were on the
So yeah, Dothkin was trained to be an assassin. I think they say only like Bjorns and Wern can like only certain people are allowed use of the assassins for their assassination purposes unless like given special permission. But of course Hrathen's a Bjorn, so he's allowed to use him to go, as we know later, poison Serene.
Which, I mean, I knew 100% was going to happen, so everybody's after her.
Did you suspect that darkness that one poison vial was going to go to Serene at the time?
No, I thought she was going to get killed and turn into a lantern. I didn't think she was going to get poisoned like that.
Who did you think he was going to send the poison
become a fake
vial for
Elantris?
What happened?
Who did you think the poison vial was going to go to then at this point?
The king, like the one that's going to be crowned king.
Oh, Royal? You thought he was going to do it to Royal? See. That would have also been a good choice. Probably.
Yeah, that's the only option that came up in my mind for some reason.
Yeah, I think it would have had to be Royal or Serene, because those were the only 2 that were kind of fighting Tellery for the throne. So our next chapter is with Rauden. We first get the Aeon Ian, meaning wisdom, at the start. So Rauden is studying and is suddenly struck by a wave of pain. He falls and screams as he feels like his body is just only pain, nothing else. And he can feel it in the back of his mind like an enormous, slick surface that wanted to find release from the strain, but it had no outlet. So what do you think of how Rauden describes the door trying to come through him?
I have stuff to say, but like, it's after they describe what they see.
All right.
You know.
Do you have any thoughts, Mythic?
What was the question?
What did you think about how Rauden describes the door trying to come through him?
It sounds orgasmic.
I don't think Rauden finds it that way.
No, but it sounds like he's coming into like this power that he's just needs to be ready for.
The way it builds up, I'm just like curious, like because it comes in waves and it really shouldn't. But I'm assuming it's because of the amount of times he's tried to like make a working.
Yeah, I think Galadon will make a remark later in this chapter, a paragraph or 2. He makes a note that the most powerful of Elantrians who had been closest to the door were the ones that had fallen the quickest and hadn't really struggled as they were burned alive. Like it affects the ones closest to the door the most.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Rauden's vision clears and he's on the floor under the table with Galadon and Kreta staring down at him. Galadon looks livid while Kreta looks concerned. They help him up to a sitting position and eventually to a chair. Rauden eventually explains to them that the pain comes for him in waves, which Galadon finds hard to believe, but Rauden insists that's how it works for him. Kreta then mentions that Rauden had been glowing, as if the door had been trying to come through him. Galadon says some people are closer to the door than others, and Kreta also says he's been practicing daily, unlike others. Also mentioned that the Elantrians closest to the door had been the ones who had fallen quickest when the Riot happened. So what do you think about the fact that Rauden glows during these fits of pain?
It's trying to come through him. It's going to pierce through him like aliens.
If he's near the door, just open the door.
He's gotta open the door.
He's got a hoe to the door.
Oh.
Hoe door.
Okay, but like when I first saw like the part where like he's glowing, I gasped so hard and I was like, oh.
He's going to be an Elantrian.
Yep. I was like, he's turning.
It's like, oh shit.
Or becoming a nuclear bomb, either one works.
Just radiation.
Yeah.
That's actually what they're all
He's
suffering from is radiation poisoning.
yeah, he's either gonna explode or he's just like ascending, which is like another form of exploding.
So Rowden then reminds them of their promise to take him to the pool when he becomes a Hoed, and they agree. Galdon then mentions that maybe Rowden will be cured like Harathan, but Rowden doubts Harathan's healing. He also thinks that possibly Wyrn had called to take Harathan back to Fjordell. So he's like, if he was even healed, he might have just been taken. Like, if he wasn't healed, he was probably just taken back, so he wouldn't be like a disgrace, and they could deal with him privately. Just make it seem like he was healed, which I think is also a pretty logical way of thinking. It's like, yeah, like the Shu-Dereth wouldn't really want a Gjorn to be seen as a Elantrian.
Mm-hmm.
So then we go to chapter 38, which is Serene's point of view, and she
I'm
watches Harathan giving a sermon on top of the border wall around Kay. He was preaching with more enthusiasm than before, and had even more people following him, as he seemed like a saint for surviving the Shroud. Serene tells Lugal that the whole thing must have been a trick, which Lugal agrees with. Shun, however, isn't sure how it could be a trick. They all seem worried and eventually get back into a carriage together, where Lugal asks what Serene meant when she had said his face was too pink to wear the red of the Derethi religion. He's like, I wouldn't look in Derethi red anyways, and she's like, yeah, your face is too pink for that anyways. Which Lugal gets self-conscious about. Um, so do you think that the people are actually starting to believe in Shu-Dereth now? Because it seemed like before it was kind of like, at least the way Harathan described it was like, oh, they're coming for the status of it, not because they actually believe. But do you think they're actually believing now that it seems like Harathan was healed?
I think yeah, I think that was like a
Yeah,
like major
definitely.
point of like what happened. Like
Yeah, that was his reason, obviously, for doing it.
We definitely think it's a turning point for sure.
So we then skip to Serene waiting at the docks with Shuden, Lugal, and Eondel as a long and thin boat comes in. The mast is a blue flag with a golden Aeon Teo on it. Once docked, Sainalin, which if you remember is the head of Shukarath, and a dozen lesser priests and attendants get off the boat. Sainalin has long flowing golden hair and delicate features. He also wears a blue robe with a gold cape and a bunch of golden embroidery, and I believe it says so much so that you can barely tell it's blue on the robe. And so Senelin greets Serene, and Serene introduces each of the men with her. I think she also says like, "Oh, Erlon is like glad to have you," and he's like, "Of course it is." She also states that Royal is getting ready for Iadon's funeral, which Senelin is glad to not have missed. So, what were your thoughts on Senelin,
I want him dead.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a,
Mythic?
I mean, I don't really have any thoughts on him.
No thoughts on Senelin, the pretty
No,
boy.
not really. Just a pretty boy.
He is a pretty boy apparently.
which even more reason to get rid of him, you know?
No, not at all.
So we then skip to the group talking in a carriage. Lucal is disappointed with Serene and Sailin, disappointed that Serene and Sailin didn't argue. Apparently he had been expecting them to go at each other. Also, the men agree that Serene was correct about Sailin's personality. Serene then explains how Sailin was chosen as head of the Karathi Church around 15 years ago, when he was in his mid to late 20s. They chose Sailin due to his age, as the new Wyrn Wolfden was young and handsome also. So do you think it was smart for them to choose someone? Do you think like this
No.
is a smart decision for the church to be like, oh,
That young? No.
they're like, oh, Shu-Dereth has like a young, handsome leader. We should get a young, handsome leader.
Mm-mm. They fucked up.
Do you
He
agree?
doesn't seem very he doesn't seem very how do I say it? Like mature mentally, like
I also don't know
and
if he
socially.
like fully represents their beliefs. Like he seems a little extravagant
Yeah.
for a Karathi priest.
hmm
Do you have any thoughts, Mythic?
Maybe he's just bougie, you know?
He's just
Yeah,
bougie.
definitely a bougie person.
He and Tellery seem like they would get along well.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe they get together. He becomes the princess.
So Lucal replies that Sainalin is more pretty than handsome, and that half the women would be more jealous than in love with him. Which I think Serene also thinks at one point. She's like, "God damn that hair! I wish I had hair like that." uh, so Eondel is uncomfortable with the conversation around Sainalin, and Serene apologizes. She also doesn't seem certain that Sainalin is only here for Idon's funeral.
I'm
Begins.
just I'm just gonna say I cringed really hard when you brought up the hair cuz you know.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
she loses all her hair.
Poor Serene. We again skip ahead to Idon's funeral. Royal took control of the funeral since Eshin had become completely unhinged since her husband's disgrace. So what do you think that means, Eshin becoming unhinged? Do you mean like psychotic, or do you think upset, or like...
Upset.
She won't shut up or like stop crying. That seems like her basic personality.
Maybe Eshin unhinged is not speaking?
What if what if
That would
Eshin
be interesting.
Unhinged is her fucking like sword fighting everyone?
She's like crying in a corner. Someone comes near her. She just pulls out the sword. And she's like, "Fight me, bitch." That'd
That'd
be
be
pretty
great.
funny. So Omen had asked them not to use the Karathi temple. I'm assuming because Idon had been involved in the mysteries, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not comfortable with this." So instead, they used the throne room, which is also going to be the room that they get married in later, because apparently
Hmm.
Royal's super frugal, and he's like, "I'm gonna use the same room. I'm gonna use the same decorations." So he has the exact same decorations for the funeral and wedding.
Which
Uh,
doesn't make sense to me, but sure.
yeah. And so Serenity reminisces on how she had set up her easel in this room just a month ago. She then sees Duke Telri, who looks frustrated but has done nothing so far to stop the wedding. Royal then makes a small speech about Iadon and how he brought the country out of the ashes of Elantris, and that Domi would deal with Iadon's soul, so they shouldn't speak ill of him now that he's dead. And so before Eandel's guards can move the casket, Sainalin comes forward with something to say. He addresses the room and states that 10 years ago, Iadon had come to him with a signed and sealed statement that was to be read at his funeral or 15 years from its creation, whichever came first. In the statement, Iadon has written that all titles were to be frozen and handed down generation to generation, as in other nations. So, were you surprised that Iadon had actually planned for this?
Well, no, because
Yes.
it's been stated constantly that he's a like worrywart, pretty much.
Yeah, but this was like as soon as he took king, like as soon as he became king, he was like, "This is the system I'm gonna use, but like I know it's not sustainable." I think
Oh, I
that
don't know about that. I don't know about that part, but like the having a basically
Backbone.
a will and testament.
well, this wasn't
Yeah.
just to be a will, though. Remember, this was supposed to be as well. Like
Hmm.
15 years later, even if he was still a king, it was like he was because I think they mentioned just after this, he he obviously knew that like this whole like fighting with wealth for noble titles wasn't sustainable. So it was kind of like if you've made it this far, you get to keep your title.
Hmm.
It shows like how much he changed from like someone who was like low key like respectable and standing like and into like a very corrupt person.
Mm-hmm.
Cause the like what he says like with that document that they talk about, like that's how a stable kingdom is made, and like is way different than like what he had going while Serena was there. So
Yeah.
especially also, also I was thinking because we know how so we don't know how Serena was, you know, like how it happened, right?
What do you mean?
Like we know it happens, but we don't know how it happens, right?
Oh, sorry. How what happens?
Like the poison.
Oh yeah, we don't know how the poison's administered to her.
Yeah, so I just thought like I skimmed over that and the fact that there was other people that would have had to help there, and also this document like um it just it made me realize how far gone the king was,
Mm.
especially if he was the one to do something to Rowden.
Yeah. I think when we get to later, like we'll get to how like Rowden says like his dad was a lot different in his childhood.
Hmm.
Mm.
It's the
Um,
mysterious.
yeah, the mysteries corrupted him.
Yeah.
So the noblemen with Serenity are shocked that Iadon had realized how unstable the nobility situation had been and had planned for it. Serenity also notes that Sainalin was used because no one, even Harathan at this point, would go against the head of the Karathi church. Royal mentions that this strengthens his claim to the throne once he and Serenity get married as well, since Serenity is technically part of the... sorry, one second, I have to cough. Since Serenity is now part of the royal family, so him getting married to her would strengthen that. Um, Finally, the guards take the casket away, taking a long procession to a burial site, although they do it by carriage instead of by marching. They bury the body, and Serene, dressed for once in black, is surprised that the nobles stay until the pit is fully filled before trickling away. Royal then places a hand on Serene's shoulder and says they should get ready. So, what did you think of the funeral?
Short, sweet, to the point.
Yeah, which that's what frugal Royal likes. He's like, oh yes, we'll
Hmm.
use this like part of the ground that's already kind of depressed to like dig up and it makes me laugh. I don't know. Just all the little details about like, oh yes, I saved some money here and I saved some money here. We'll use the same decorations and look, this part of the land is like kind of already a pit. So we then skip to Serene kneeling before the altar in the Karathi temple. She's wearing her original wedding gown, which is a high-necked gown her father had chosen, with white gloves up to her shoulders and a thick veil. She notes that although she isn't as devout as Eondel, she is religious and believes in Domi. She's glad to finally be getting married, even if it isn't to whom she had imagined. She also notes that Royal is old enough to potentially be her grandfather, which, oh god.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently the age gap isn't the worst, because apparently some Genoese kings have taken girls as young as 12. So, great. Great little note there. So Serene notes that she will be Queen of Erelon, and she may have another chance to take a husband if Royal dies in a few years, as he expects. She eventually prays to Domi that they just be happy. Daughters of some of the nobles are waiting outside for her, including Kaise and Terena, to help carry her cloak-like train as she goes to the carriage. So what do you think of Serene's thoughts and her eventual prayer to Domi to be happy?
Well, we know that falls. She'll eventually be happy when she finds out that Spirit is actually routed.
Yeah. What do you think, Darkness, of her little time alone at the church?
I don't know. I kind of found it weird how like into like how much of like her religious aspects are being like you know exposed in these chapters because they've shown like almost none of it in the previous ones, and all of a sudden it just floods in.
Well, I think as she says, she's not like particularly religious, but like they also do show that she's like had multiple interactions with the Karathi priest here.
Yeah,
Like,
but it's not like personal. You know what I mean? Like the
yeah.
previous ones.
Well, I think the thing is, like she says, like this is like a tradition before a wedding. Like, and I think she's like one of those people who like she's not like religion is not like her main like a main part of her personality, but it is something she does believe in. So it's kind of just like in an in the background thing, and this is just like part of the tradition of marriage. Is like apparently women have their little time alone in the church to pray before getting married, so
I don't know.
she does that.
Yeah. Pray about the fact that their life is now over and they'll be forever with this man.
I don't know. I just find it weird how like just wow, let me expose it all right now instead of like constant. But you know,
I don't know. I feel
she
like
could have
there's
been
little hints
harassing
throughout.
2.0.
Oh
You know.
God, no, I don't think she would ever have been like that. So once the palace serenity goes to the throne room, Royal is wearing a white suit and had planned to sit on the throne the moment the ceremony's over so that Telri can't make any sort of claims. Father Omen is also at the front of the room, looking happy to be officiating, and Sadolin is also there and seems disappointed Serenity didn't choose him, but Serenity notes that she is happy to have chosen a Karathi priest she likes to officiate her wedding. Apparently she had always been told that Sadolin would just be the one to do it, but she's like, oh my gosh, I have a person who I like that can do this. So Serenity notices Harathan at the wedding and that he seems calm. She tries to put him out of her mind, though, and soon lifts her veil, which causes people to start screaming. Confused,
That
Serenity...
right there. I'm sorry.
Go
That
ahead.
right there. Like Harathan seeming calm is not good in any way,
No,
anytime.
definitely not.
Like, why would she just try to put it out of her mind, knowing damn well that she's been fighting him this whole time, and him seeming so calm in a situation that's gonna put him in a bad place. No bells at all.
Well, I think she's like, I mean, she's basically just about to walk down the island and be done with it. Like, I'm not sure there was anything she could do in that situation. She's like, I just gotta get this over with. We just gotta get married. It's all that needs to happen right now.
Mm-mm.
Just focus.
My mind would have been racing. Like I would have been like, what the fuck is wrong?
She's like, oh no, oh no.
Yep.
Especially with Telri like not doing anything during the funeral too.
Yep.
But yeah, so confused. Serenity thinks there's something wrong with her veil. She pulls it off, and her hair comes off with it. She glances at a mirror in the room and sees the shroud has come upon her. So yeah, were you expecting Serenity to have been affected by the supposed shroud during
Yes.
her wedding? But during the wedding?
Oh, during the wedding, no, but yes, I definitely was definitely thinking that was going to happen.
Okay, so I know I was supposed to be shocked. I know I was supposed to be like, "Oh no, this is happening." When she pulled off her veil and her hair came off with it, I I laughed my ass off because I just pictured like a whole wig like just falling apart.
I think that's
There's
basically
no
what
way.
happened.
Yeah, there's no way I was gonna keep a straight face through that.
I don't think Serene would be laughing.
No, definitely not. I would. She wouldn't.
Yeah.
I'd be one of those people in like the aisles and just like start busting out laughing. I'd probably get kicked out.
So we then have a short Harathan chapter for chapter 39. And he's watching the Karathi priest take Serene away. And he just in the middle of the church or throne room, sorry, they're not in a church, announces that Jadeth has decided this. Royal is sitting on the throne with his head in his hands. Shuden looks like he wants to demand Serene's release, and Iandel is weeping. Rathan wonders why he is upset that no one cried when he was sent to Elantris. So what do you
Because
think?
nobody cares about you, Harathan.
Yeah, you have any thoughts about that, Darkness, as well?
But they got it all in one. So.
Yeah, nobody cares about Harathan.
Yeah, I think Harathan knows that like he doesn't really have a lot of friends there, but he's like wondering why specifically he's upset by that fact. He's like, why do I care if people cry?
It's very convenient that he doesn't even get along with Seon, considering that we would have known what happens later to
Yep. Mm-hmm.
if they get poisoned in the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because pretty much everyone else with the Seon is like super close. They're like basically like super close siblings, like best friends with their Seons. Then his is in a box.
You think we? No, I was
Hmm?
gonna say, you could send them into battle,
Oh gosh, I don't know if they could do much besides maybe blind someone. They
turn
could be
up your bright.
spies. They can spy on people.
So there's like no physical manifestation in any way, right? It's just light.
No, it's just balls of light.
Hmm.
I think we know they can't go completely invisible though, because when like Ash and stuff tries to hide, he can only be like super super dim, but you can still like just faintly see his Aeon.
I mean, if you need a Christmas light,
There's a tree covered in Seance.
that'd be awesome. That'd be so cool looking.
Oh my gosh. So Harathan then notes that he had been concerned the poison wouldn't have taken effect in time, but luckily it had. He notes that Royal without Serene does not have enough money to take the throne now, so that Telri will be able to take it. He and Telri share a nod as Telri hadn't made a move against the wedding as Harathan had asked. And that was the end of chapter 39. Just a quick little point from Harathan's point of view.
How do you picture Seance?
Little balls of light.
I think they're supposed to be melon-sized, so they're just like, I just imagine, yeah, it's like a sphere of light, like radiating.
Yeah. So I realized that we all have like this different aspects of how we picture them because for some reason, okay, you know how my mind works. It's all over the place, right?
Well, I mean,
So
on my cover of the hardcover, there are seance on it, I believe. So
I don't pay attention to the cover.
actually, are those seance? No, actually, I think those are supposed to be lights on the wall. Maybe those aren't seance.
Well, I picture like Seance as like bowling ball sized lights, and like little like light wings.
Hmm.
Oh, you mean like kind of like the Quidditch, the thing?
Yeah, exactly like
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
I don't think they would have wings. Yeah, they would just be like orbs of light.
I know, but I don't picture orbs of light floating. you know. So like I didn't even realize I thought of it like that until like now because I was like, you know what do they think differently about it? But
Image of someone's like recreation of
yeah,
what they think they would look like. I feel like they'd be more glowy than this though. This looks more like something in a bubble. Also, I think that's too small. It does not look melon sized to me.
yeah, I was gonna say that's a little
It's
more smaller than what I think it is, but that looks completely different than what I thought.
I don't know. There's not a lot of pictures.
That's a lot more like what I thought.
There's like only like very few images.
It's like a butterfly inside that thing.
Butterfly. I think that's just the
The
that's just the
Aeon,
Aeon.
but
Yeah.
yeah, just the way it looks.
That last one is more what I think it is.
Yeah. The last one is what the orbs look like. I think on the cover of Elantris. I couldn't tell though if they were supposed to be Seons or like just the lit up Aeons on the wall. But yeah. So
I'm trying to see if my cover has like any sort of indication. Oh, it does. Yeah. No, yeah, you're right. Those are seance for sure.
Yeah. So then chapter 40, back to another Rowden point of view. So of course we get a new Seon, or Aeon, sorry, which is Aeon Seo, meaning loyalty and service. That's what the word Seon's based on. So Rowden is speaking to Galadon about finding a way to get on top of the Elantris walls. With less guards around, which does worry Rowden, he feels he can get information from looking down at Kay from the walls. He also feels like there should be a way up from inside Elantris, since the walls were meant more as decorative and that anyone could go up from either side. Rowden worries that the lack of guards means that the East is attacking. He wants his own people up on the walls to be on the lookout for an attack, but also doesn't want to share his worries with the other Elantrians. If they did have a warning of an invasion, they could probably hide in one of the abandoned other towns around Elantris. So do you think if there are moves against the Elantrians, do you think they'll be able to easily escape to one of the outer cities or not?
If they are what?
If there are like attacks against Elantris, do you think that they'll be able to easily escape to one of the outer cities like Rowden hopes?
I don't think so. I think they'd like stay and suffer. They'd try, but I don't think it'd work.
Mm.
They gotta move all the hoes too, so
Yeah, all of those hoes.
I think they would have to abandon the Hoeds.
no, that's rude.
Nah, just throw them in the pool.
Like, why the fuck would you? Yeah, why would the fuck would you keep them like all alive and shit just to abandon them during like an attack? Abandon the children.
No, don't abandon the children.
What are they gonna do? Grow?
So let them be children.
No, that's creepy. Like, imagine like a 30-year-old child.
I don't
Oh
think they
wait,
age
that's like
mentally
that's
either.
you. That's you. That's
Wow,
you.
what the fuck? Not even 30 yet.
You're close.
Shut up. So Galadon then points out a stone column that goes up the side of the walls, which could potentially hide a staircase. However, before they can go check it out, a new Elantrian named Tenryo comes with a message that a new person has been thrown into Elantris. Dash is apparently watching the gate when the newcomer had been thrown in and mentions that she has screamed at the gate for 10 minutes before throwing her basket of food and curling up on the ground with her knees to her chest. Rowden greets the newcomer and then is shocked when he sees it's Serene. She accuses him of wanting to steal her food, and Rowden urges her to come with him. Serene states she doesn't trust him, and Rowden says she never did and thus never gave him a chance. So were you happy that they got to see each other again at least?
I was more happier because I knew where it was going, and I knew she was gonna see what was happening there.
More excited for her to see new Elantris and to see Rowden.
More excited for her bro to fall around her.
Mm-hmm. She was so sure, like, oh, these people are horrible, I'm gonna fuck with them, and she was
Yep.
like, oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
Look at all this crap
This is
stuff
where
I gave them.
this next chapter is where I was so happy.
So chapter 41, we move to Serene's point of view as she first sees New Elantris. She sees people working and smiling in multicolored clothing made of the cloth she had brought them. Rowden tells Serene that anything she expected is no longer valid. Mare then approaches and says she isn't sure they have anything in Serene's size. She does eventually get a skirt and a top for Serene, along with undergarments and men's socks. She even gives a scarf to tie on her head to hide her bald scalp. She is then shown a mirror made of the thin metal sheets that she had given them, which are wrapped around, I believe, like a stone table. Serene and Spirit leave Mare's place once Serene is dressed, and Serene can't help but note Rowden is just a bit taller than her. She's like,
She didn't
oh,
get shoes, right?
Yeah, she's like, oh, he's perfect height for me.
No, like
I wonder why.
she didn't get shoes, right? I didn't see her get shoes.
They didn't mention her getting any shoes, yeah.
That's why I was like, okay, you gave them socks but not shoes.
Well, I'm thinking that like the
Only
one
the
guy, so
good
they don't
people.
get blisters, like make some specialty for everyone.
Only the good people get shoes.
Yeah, only the good
She
people.
has she has to atone for her crimes.
But yeah, as I said, I think that he also has to like specifically measure each person so that they don't get like blisters and stuff.
Yes, measure my foot.
So
No, I was just like I was gonna comment on like the height thing too, cause like
Because you're short. And...
oh yeah. You know what? Forget it.
oh no.
if I'm gonna be attacked like this, there's no point.
I get attacked like this all the time, Darkness. Deal with it.
Right?
Okay, but you're like a
Short.
dwarf.
Yeah, but
I'm
she is
not.
short.
I'm like average size in some Asian countries.
In some Asian countries.
In some like
Do you live in an Asian country?
I don't, but that doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
It doesn't matter. I'm average height somewhere in the world. Anyways. Serene's
Probably at a kindergarten.
No!
Yeah, she's definitely average height in kindergarten.
No, I'm higher. I'm taller. Anyways.
I feel like some kindergartners are taller than you.
No, they aren't.
That is true.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
Serenity and Spirit leave Mare's place once Serenity is dressed, and Serenity can't help but note Rowden is just a bit taller than her. As they walk around, Serenity notices that everyone seems to be working and talking, and everyone smiles at Spirit. She also notes that it seems like there are around 500 to 600 people. They then pass a man, Tan, carving small stone animals for children. Serenity realizes that the man is carving using one of the bent nails she had provided them with. Serenity apologizes for sending them such messed up supplies, but Spirit says she was right to distrust him and that he did betray her trust. He also lets her know that the sculptor was Tan, who used to be Andon, the gang leader. So did you like how they've been using the different items Serenity has provided them with?
I like how she has been feeling bad about giving them that.
Yeah,
Like that brought so much satisfaction to me.
She's like, I gave them this disgusting looking cloth. I gave them like these super thin sheets of metal. I gave them these bent nails.
Because I don't know if they brought it up yet or if they bring it up later. Like she's like, I was petty enough to do this. I was like, yeah, you're a petty ass bitch for doing that shit. Like,
she is a petty ass bitch. She owns it. Serena then points out the Hall of the Fallen, but doesn't give much explanation, and Serenity, hearing the sorrow in his voice, doesn't ask. She does see mindless Seons floating above the roof, though, which causes her to wonder about Ash. She can't remember if she saw him at the throne room where she was to be married, as he was supposed to be there waiting for her. They then pass the fields, and Serenity notices that they're sprouting. Spirit also explains how they had asked for fish and gotten the wrong fish to use for fertilizer, and they'd outsmarted her that way. And Serenity again feels bad for messing with their supplies, but Spirit says he'll lock her in a room with Galadon if she doesn't cheer up. Serenity is surprised to hear of a pessimistic doula, which makes Spirit laugh. Do you think Galadon and Serenity would get along well if they were locked in a room together?
Yes, 100%. 100%. And I also don't. I think he'd end up telling her that he's actually Rowden.
Oh, that's payback for sure.
He's like, you're gonna lock me in here with her? She's gonna know everything, dude. She's gonna know who you are and how you've been pining after her this whole time.
Damn.
So next they pass the Karathi chapel, which Serenity recognizes quickly. She believes that Spirit was a nobleman, and he lies and says he was the second son of a minor noble. As Serenity tries to continue...
Which that part, like, pisses me off. Like, just tell her, please.
I mean, there's reasons not to tell her, though.
It'd be way easier to just tell her, though. Like, they could work even better together.
Like, look, I'm your husband. Love me.
I feel like there would be better, like, outcome if he told her than if he didn't. Because, like, we know that she can handle, like, acting and stuff, right? Yeah. So, I mean, like, there's no reason why she can't just keep the secret, And it's not like he's gonna... Well, we don't know that. But I was gonna say, it's not like he's gonna die.
Yeah, we don't know that.
I don't know. The door might kill him.
Because pretty much right then, Spirit begins glowing and lets out a silent scream before collapsing and letting out an actual scream. And so Serenity grabs him, trying to manage his spasms, and as she does, she feels something immense press against her and the air warping away from Spirit's body, which shines so brightly she can barely see him. What do you guys think about that?
The door is trying to get out. Open the door.
Are you surprised she could feel it, though?
No, because she has a connection to Rowden.
Darkness, do you have any thoughts?
I'm just wondering if it's like if she can feel it because she's not truly an Elantrian, or
bow to his will. He is a god.
Or if she's like just as sensitive to, like she would be just as sensitive to him, as sensitive as him. Like if she were an Elantrian, you know what I mean? Like what if like the pain came in waves to her too?
We also don't know if like she's not. We also don't know if others could technically feel it, because Galadon and Karata didn't touch him until after his attack had finished. So when the Spirit comes to his senses, he explains that those fits are common for him and that Aendor is intent on destroying him. Serenity doesn't believe in Aendor, but Spirit draws an Aeon in the air for her, and she eagerly asks for him to show her. So how much longer do you think Rowden's going to be able to last?
Not long.
What if he just like escapes Elantris, right? And goes into that one city, like, where he came from. And then he just starts glowing out of nowhere.
Just goes into decay, has one of his fits, and then begins glowing. And everyone's like, oh, shit.
No, but, like, I there's, like, two main ways I see this, right? It's either very, very good, and he's being a little extra, right? And it can be very, very bad, and he's gonna end up in the pool. That's Yep.
So
Expect the best and the worst.
the
Yep.
best or the worst. There's no in between. So Serenity spent the rest of the day learning about Aendor with Rauden. However, when night came, she curled up cold in a ball and cried, mostly from homesickness, and now she will no longer be able to see her new noble friends, her uncle and his family, or her own family again. Spirit had at one point asked about the outside, but Serenity had been too upset to respond. She knew that Tellery and Hrathen were probably in charge now, and that she was in Elantris. But then Ash shows up, saying that he has finally found Serenity, and he will be the first Seon to convert to shoot Karath. And Serenity is very excited that Ash hasn't gone mad, and we learn that Ash had searched all day of the wedding and all day today for her. He tried to get information, but no one would really speak to him about Serenity, especially when learning he was Serenity's Aeon. Seon. Seon and Aeon are so... I keep getting the words mixed up. She says she needs Ash to go let the others know she is okay and to come back to the clean part of the city tomorrow. Were you happy that Ash was able to find Serenity?
Yep.
Yes.
I like them. Ash is adorable.
Ash is gonna die.
Don't say that.
Don't say that because it's true.
Actually, no, I find Ash annoying sometimes.
What? Ash is the best. He's such a good little ball of light.
There's just like their master, there's times that they just like bug me. You see now, Galavin would make a good Seon. Just like transform him.
Galadon.
Yeah.
You want Galadon to follow people around?
He already does.
That's true. He's Rauden's new Seon. Eon's gone mad, so Galadon becomes the new Seon.
Yep.
So before Ash goes, he has Aventio speak to Serenity. Serenity is extremely glad to hear her father's voice, and it gives her strength to know she won't have to go without his voice and Ash when Elantris.
I wish she would have said no to this.
Why? Oh, I see.
Just even when she said it, even when he said, "Oh, hey, your dad wants to talk to you," I was like, "Don't take the call. Just don't." First off, the reason it wasn't even what I thought was gonna happen at the end. I thought I figured it was pretty common knowledge that when somebody becomes an Elantri and their Seon or whatever goes crazy. So if it went through, I feel like he would have been like he would have thought something was going on because it shouldn't have gone through. Like he shouldn't even be able to get a hold of her. So I was like, just don't answer and pretend as if it didn't. But she obviously doesn't.
Yeah. So yeah, she's very happy to hear him, and Aventio wants to get Serenity out of Elantris as soon as possible, but Serenity argues that it will just make enemies of their only allies. She also says she still stands with the Airlish people and won't leave her new home. Aventio is not happy with this, but eventually caves in, agreeing that he can't force Serenity and that she has the right to choose, even if he wishes she was home safe with him. He does tell her, though, to make sure her friends are aware that any ship that approaches Teod will be sunk. So yeah, what did you think of Aventio's and Serenity's conversation?
I'm gonna reserve my thoughts because I have a huge I'm gonna rip that dude to pieces pretty soon. So
yeah, I know, right?
He just wants to keep his daughter safe.
He needs to mind his business and know that his child can do what she can do. I
know. I agree.
I don't know. I have such a soft spot for Aventio.
When she straight up says, "No, don't do this," and then he's like, "Nah, I'm gonna do it anyways," kind of idea. I was like, dude, she's obviously shown she's very formidable and a very powerful political figure. If she says no, maybe you should listen to her.
I'm glad he lost his fucking brother. Anyway.
Oh man.
Damn.
I wouldn't go that far, but well.
So we're then on chapter 42, which is Hrathen's point of view. So Hrathen is feeling more sure of himself, and Dilaf is reluctantly backing down. In exchange for Dilaf becoming head Artif, he relieved his numerous Odivs and made them Crodits instead, which means they won't have to follow him everywhere and do all he says, because Hrathen's that was a huge issue before. However, Dilaf was still very insistent on his hatred for the Elantrians. Do you think Dilaf will be more subservient now, or do you think he will continue to try and take over the Derethi Church in K?
Continue to try to take over.
You don't think he's going to stay playing nice with Hrathen?
No. You think someone as unstable as him can play nice?
He tries to. He tries his best. Hrathen notes that Telri will take the throne within a week and then announce Erelon to be Shu-Dereth. This will all be a month before Wern's deadline. He explains to Dilaf that they can deal with Elantris once Erelon is firmly Shu-Dereth, and prides himself on being able to complete this without a bloody revolution. Now he has plans for Teod. So do you think Hrathen has succeeded in his goal with Erelon, and what do you think will happen with his storyline now? Because he's kind of like, I've done it. I've done it a month early. Once Telri becomes king, he's going to announce that he's Derethi, and then I've done it without my bloody revolution. I've saved the Erlosh people.
You know what? I'm gonna take that revolution thing as a foreshadowing.
Yep.
And just like
there's gonna be
tempo. Yeah.
There is gonna be a bloody revolution for sure.
And he's gonna be like, "Fuck, I fucked up." And he's like, "You know what? This religion ain't for me. Let me move on." And then, yeah. And it's all gonna be Dilaf doing it. That fucking revolution's gonna be.
You think Dilaf is gonna start a revolution, like maybe against the Elantrians or something, or?
I have a theory. I have a theory for the end of what we've read, but
all right. Well, we'll keep going then.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in chapter 43. With Rauden's point of view, meaning we get a new Aeon, which is Aeon K, meaning the direction east. So Rauden is with Galadin, as Galadin explains that he had explored the stone column and learned that it was indeed a staircase up to the top of the walls. They climb up together. The only light inside is from narrow slits in the stone that are just kind of like scattered throughout the pillar. And they believe that likely the light before had been from the glowing stone, because all the stone in Elantris glowed previously, so they didn't really need windows. So once at the top, there is a wooden barricaded door, which the city guards had likely put in place after the previous door had rotted. Rauden had brought Tan's fire axe, and slowly they broke down the door to get on top of the wall. Galadin jokes that it had taken him a while to convince Rauden to come up here, even though it had been Rauden's idea at first, since he had been stuck to Serene since she had entered Elantris. I think he makes a joke, I don't remember if it was here or somewhere else, but he makes a joke that like they literally don't leave each other's side unless it's to go to the bathroom. And Rauden says that she is his wife, and Galadin asks if he even told her that, which he hasn't. They then look out at the city and notice that the city guards are surrounding Lord Telri's mansion. Rauden isn't sure why they'd be there, but he knows something must be very wrong. So were you kind of surprised that Serene hadn't explained things to Rauden yet? Apparently it's been a few days.
Oh my god. Pisses me off, bro. Like,
no.
Get over yourself and just tell him. Like, both of you just tell each other shit.
Right.
Like, y'all expected to get married? You don't even, I get it, like, you don't know, but like, if you can't even do that with like normal ass personalities without like, you know, like knowing that you're gonna get married, like, how is that gonna work?
First off, when she finally does tell him, and he makes the slip of like, oh, but I thought you couldn't get married to anybody else. That's where I would have been like, I know who you are.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I feel like she does now. I feel like she's just not like making him like, you know, like calling him out. I feel like there's gonna be one of those chapters gonna be over where she's like, aha, I know who he is, but I won't tell him yet. You know?
We're just gonna have like next episode, she's gonna be sitting down with the noble. So I met Rauden. He didn't tell me he was Rauden, but I'm 99% sure he's Rauden.
Mm-hmm.
So once they go back down the stairs, Rauden thinks about how he's been avoiding bringing up what had happened outside because Serene had seemed upset by it, but she was truly the only one who would know what is happening. He also thinks about how Serene is everything he had wanted in a woman, as he had struggled with the women of the Erlosh court. With Erla not being very militaristic, also, the armada from Teod was very helpful when the marriage between Rauden and Serene had been discussed. So the two go to the holy place within the library, or the holy place where the library is underneath, which Rauden had showed Serene, and Galadin hadn't been surprised by this. He was like, of course you showed her. And he notes that her skin doesn't seem to be wrinkling or paling like it should be by this point, which, yeah. These couple chapters, like, they do annoy me a little bit, where I'm like, you two should really be figuring some shit out.
Yep.
On both sides. Like, I love these chapters, but also, because it's kind of cute, where they're like, oh, I really like this person, but it's also like, guys, you should be realizing, especially with how much time you're spending with each other, that, like, she's not really an Elantrian, and he's fucking Rauden.
I wonder if she bleeds.
She probably bleeds. I think the poison
made her bleed.
I think the poison's just like fucks with your hair and skin. Yeah, so he knows her skin doesn't seem to be wrinkling or paling, and that her injuries don't keep hurting. But Rowden thinks this is just because she's a new Elantrian, and didn't have to deal with like the previous like how they'd all been suffering in old Elantris. And a lot of the newer people who only know new Elantris also don't notice the pain as much. He also notices how she doesn't seem to feel hungry, which is another sign, but he's like, oh, she's also been eating daily, so she's fine. Um, yeah, he thinks she'll start to feel it once their food runs out in about a month. So did you think Rowden should have started putting together what happened to Serene and Hrathen at this point?
He should have known in general, like, just by being around her, like, it stresses me out so much. Like, you're smart enough to figure out how aeons work, how, like, all that shit works. But you can't tell that this bitch is not dead? Like,
right?
her heart is probably beating.
Like, I understand the first day where, like, you don't really look that different. But, like, it's been a couple days. You should notice that she's not changing. She's apparently cold at night. She's not, like, she doesn't feel the pain.
Do their tear ducts even work?
I don't know.
Like, can they cry? Like,
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Because imagine, like, because she said she didn't cry until, like, at night, right? When she was alone.
I don't think they do, because I think Rowden mentions in, like, an early chapter he would cry if he could or something, or, like, he's like...
So, wait, you're telling me if this bitch wasn't so fucking, like, oh, if she wasn't so, like, you know what, I'm not going to show my weak side, you know, sort of mentality, then they would have known instantly, like, how the fuck are you crying? You like some, like... Gosh.
Or, like, even if she'd gotten, like, an injury where she'd got, like, I know they're very careful, but even if she'd gotten, like, a small cut, like a paper cut or something that'd been bleeding normally.
Could have
bled. They're like, wait a second, she's bleeding normally. What is this?
Kill her! She's mortal!
Behead her! Oh, she's not still moving! Or actually, no, beheading, I think they said, is one of the final ways that they don't see it. Cut her off the waist!
You would not have been a good Elantrian.
Okay, anyways, we should get back to the book now that Mythic's back. So, Serene excitedly says Rowden will never guess what she found in her book once she sees that they've arrived in the library. Apparently, she's been focusing on political books as she's enjoyed them, and also because it seemed like no matter how hard she tried the Aeons, they would not work for her. Galen didn't find this odd, as he said even with the previous Elantrians, for some it had taken years to learn Aeons. Serene explains how in her book she had found a poem that Fjordell had obviously changed over time. The original poem about Wyrn doesn't mention Shardbreaker, as it hadn't been founded yet. It also mentions that Jadis was a relatively unimportant god who cared for the rocks under the earth. She says if this poem got out, it would be a major embarrassment for Fjordell. Did you have any thoughts about this poem?
I think that's what's going to end up creating the bloodshed that I was talking about earlier.
You know what? I didn't even put that much thought into it. Like, I was like, oh yeah, she's like exposing the fact that, like, you know, it's all like wrong or whatever. But I didn't think that, like, oh, if you took that out, like, it'll fuck shit up. And, like, I just glossed over the fact that that could be extremely dangerous.
Jadis is god of stone. He's not even an important god.
No, it's god of underneath the stone. No.
The stone's underground is what he is. Not stones above ground.
Yeah. Like, not even on top of the ground. Like,
no.
It does make me curious though on the person who originally, like, started the whole thing about Jedith. Like, they obviously would know about who, like, what that god represented.
Yeah.
And to, like, then try to, like, make that specific god, like, more than he actually is.
Well, I think it's kind of what Christianity did when they tried to take over pagan religions in real life, is they, like, used previous, like, stuff, like a lot of holidays were like pagan religions that they're like, oh no, this is actually this thing that's religious and now Jesus related. And so they kind of did the same thing. They're like, oh, your pagan religion about this rock god. No, this is actually now about Shardbreaker, not about this rock god. We'll just keep the name because that's the name everyone likes. And so Rowden asks Serene about Lord Telri and the city guards. Serene sighs and says she can talk about it now, and she starts with how she dethroned King Iadon and that he hung himself after, which I feel like is a horrible place to start if you realize who Spirit is.
Yep, but she doesn't know who Spirit is because Spirit never told her.
No. And then so we switch to Serene's point of view as she continues to explain what had happened recently. Spirit is quite shocked that Iadon is dead, and Serene also explains that he had been involved in the Jaskari mysteries and that he had been sacrificing maids and cooks. She also says she isn't sure if Telri is king or not yet, but if he isn't, it will happen soon. Spirit asks why Royal isn't to be king, and Serene also explains that Telri is now richer than Royal as he's a Derethi sympathizer. Spirit then asks Serene to start completely at the beginning, and she explains everything from the Duladel Revolution until her wedding to Royal. She also notes Spirit seems to understand the nobility better than she expected, but he brushes it off as being important to know of nobles in high status. Spirit is amused by Royal marrying Serene, but nods when Serene says it was Shudin's idea. He also asks how she was to marry Royal when she was already married to Rauden, but she brushes it off saying it was politics, and also that the marriage contract dissolved with Iadon's death. She also asks how he knew her marriage was to last after death, which Spirit says that she had brought it up, even though she argues that she didn't. And I think he tries to bring Galadon into it, and he's like, I'm not fucking getting involved in your guys' bullshit.
Yeah.
Which I would be in Galadon's place, like, hey, don't bring me into this.
Yep, smartest choice.
Yeah, he's like, nah, you guys figure this out on your own. I would just sit here.
Like a good little seance.
Oh, yeah. Spirit seems sad by the fact that she's kind of just, like, dismissing her marriage to Rauden, and is like, oh, it was just politics, it didn't matter. But he comforts Serene when she mentions that the Shao took her during her wedding. Do you think Serene's comments here will keep Rauden from telling Serene who he is? The fact that she seems to, like, not care about her marriage to Rauden?
Probably.
I think it would, but I think it's gonna get out regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's gonna be a point where he's like, you know what, I have to. So
it's like, I can no longer keep this a secret. This is being too much of a hindrance now.
what if he's like, what if it's like not even like what we think, like not a forced thing? What if he's like, I cannot stand you talking about them anymore. It is I, your husband. You know, it is true. You know.
So Spirit mentions he wishes he had a way to communicate with the outside, which is when Serene reveals that Ash is here and he has not gone mad. She tells Ash to let them know once Telri is crowned king. They then sit in awkward silence, and Serene decides not to interrupt Spirit's thoughts, as she knows she gave him a lot of information to process. Serene also thinks about how she knows Spirit is hiding things from her still, but doesn't take it as a personal offense. She had Ash look into Spirit's supposed identity, and Ash hadn't been able to find anything. But Ash was also restricted in his movements, as she'd only had let him reveal himself to Kin's family and the noble group. I can't speak, goddamn. Do you think Serene will figure out Spirit's identity?
Yes.
Yeah, I think she knows.
You think she knows already?
Mm.
That was some pretty harsh comments to make that if she knows already.
Well, I feel like she knows now. I don't think she knew before.
Yeah, no, like after his reaction, then yeah.
So yeah, and we end the chapter with eventually Ash comes back and says that Telri is now king. And then we're on to chapter 45, which is Harathan's final chapter. So Harathan is on top of the Elantris walls, and he's found the door what Galadon and Rauden had broken through. He knows that he probably won't tell the guards for now, as he doesn't really care if some Elantrians have escaped their city, since they are so recognizable. And he also warned the people to focus on the new king and not the Elantrians for now. And then he looks out at the palace that's all lit up due to Telri's coronation party. The coronation had all the other nobles vying for Telri's attention and had been over the top as with all of Telri's parties. He thinks that Telri will likely demand another cash bribe before properly converting to Shuddereth, but although Telri will think that the money will give him more power, it'll actually give Fjordell more power or more control over him. He thinks that although Telri will likely never believe in Shuddereth in his heart, his children will grow up Derethi. So do you think Harathan's little plans with like the money and the fact that like, oh, I don't care if you're Derethi because your children will grow up that way is like a good way to look at it?
Harathan should have like married him, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Then it would have worked easier.
Yep.
Or he should have sold off Dilaf to him and just married him.
Should have married Eshin.
Does that
Become
work?
king himself.
Does that work?
I don't know.
You think that would work?
I mean, with Serene and Elantris, it might work.
I completely threw Ashen like in the back of my mind. So
she's become unhinged. Remember?
she's battling to the death in the palace. No, but like you would think it's gonna work that way. I feel like if nothing goes wrong, then like it would work that way, and like it would like completely make him lean on like that whole like religious aspect, because that's where like everything that he needs is being provided from.
Mm-hmm.
But everything's going to shit regardless. So
Fair.
He's gonna go to shit.
So Hrathenam thinks that he is concerned for Serene, and it bothers him that he is. But he also needed her alive for more than one reason. A voice and sounds behind him, and he turns to see a Seon with the Aeon Dio in the center. The Seon states that King Eventio of Teod would like to speak to him, and Hrathen agrees. Eventio Hrathen greets him, and Eventio quickly shuts down the pleasantries and asks what it will take for Hrathen to heal his daughter. Hrathen responds that Jadith is the one who does the healing, and Eventio eventually asks how Jadith could heal his daughter. Eventio quickly gives in, saying he will convert to Shudareth if his daughter is returned to him safely. Once the Seon call ends, Hrathen looks back out at Elantris and hopes again that Serene remains unharmed.
See, now this completely the worst decision in the book.
Yep, I agree. Like I said, like, the king is very stupid, naive.
Like, so the one father in all of these motherfucking books that we read.
You say all of them as if we've read more than two.
I told you I don't like the fathers in any of these books.
Like he was the one that was good.
He's trying his best for his daughter.
No, he's not. No,
he wants her
saved.
He's
not listening to her. He needs to listen.
If she says she's safe and there's no like immediate like thing happening to her that she can't even like respond or anything, she's fine. She can handle herself. Unless she's like, you know what, I need some help, or gives any sort of indication that she does, let her be. She'll do her own stuff.
This man has spies and he still can't fucking understand.
He witnessed his daughter overthrow a king, and he's like, you know what, she's kind of useless. Let me go help her.
It's not that he thinks she's useless. He's worried about her.
He was worried throughout the whole book.
Yeah,
and yet he just keeps making the wrong decisions.
Look, you didn't like when the father wasn't involved last time. Now you don't want the father involved at all. Make up your guys' mind.
No, I didn't like that the father literally sold their own daughter in the first book, and I didn't like in this one that they still are selling their own daughter because they don't seem to give a shit about her feelings or her ideas.
It was her idea to go be a political marriage.
Yes,
she sold herself.
But now he's gonna be like, nah, I don't want to listen to you. I want to do my own thing. You're basically my property.
He's just worried. He's being a good dad.
No, he's not.
You see, here's the issue. We're looking
being
for
overbearing.
It's the fact that it's always a king. Let's see what a queen would do instead. Fuck having a dad, because apparently that doesn't go any which way that like we like.
Oh, I can't wait till you hear about Vin's. The main character of Mistborn's parents, and then
Sorry, we're reading another book after this?
Yeah.
I thought it was over for me.
You'll be real excited about the parents of the next book.
At this point, everyone here should be just orphans.
Honestly, I feel like Eventio is like the best fucking dad.
In all the books.
I think so. As a dad figure, I feel like he's one of the best ones.
This is why I have trust issues with like mature adults. Like,
just wow.
Anyways, we're not reading for the dads. We're reading for the main characters.
What you're talking about? I'm reading for the dads. I'm looking for a good dad that's not going to leave.
Maybe that's why we're hyper focused on them.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So next chapter is chapter 46, which is the final chapter with Rauden. We got the Aeon Mai, meaning honor. And so Rauden is thinking about his father, who had done horrible things, but that he can't help but feel melancholy and remember the Eidon of his childhood. He had been a man of honor and strength, and Rauden had seen him as the greatest of heroes when he was a child. He found that the two things that had helped with the pain the most were Serene and the Aeons. New Elantris basically ran itself, so he didn't have to do much with them anymore. What did you think of Rauden's conflicting thoughts on Eidon?
Hold on. That Aeon, that new one we got?
Yeah.
That would be Salen's like base Aeon for his Seon form.
The honor one?
Yeah, definitely.
Not the loyalty one?
No. I think it'd be based more on like the way he died.
Mm.
Also, it's crazy to think about, like, it's crazy to compare, like, both, like, how he used to be, like, the dad, and how he was at the end of, like, him.
Yeah. I don't think becoming a
With the way,
king worked out well for him.
yeah,
No.
no, for sure.
I mean, although it didn't, I still don't feel like it sounded like he was the best dad. Because like when Rowden thinks back about when he broke his leg, like his dad was like basically like, I'd rather my son die than take him into Elantris to be healed. Like the mom was the one that forced the dad to come in and bring Rowden into Elantris.
I'm telling you, we need, like, a queen up in here or something.
Yeah, apparently Rowden's
Like
original mom was great. Too bad she died.
Or was she killed?
I mean, we don't know. Maybe he sacrificed her to the mysteries.
Maybe.
that'd be awesome.
Why would that be awesome? Poor Rowden.
It'd be a good, like, turn of events. Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good turn of events. So Serenity, who is reading books again, complains that there is not much about modern Fjorden in the library. She says that she had thought Elantrians would be more concerned with other religions, but Rowden mentions that they didn't seem to care much about the other religions or about being worshipped. Rowden then asks Galadon if Harathan is still up on the Elantris walls praying, which Galadon confirms. Serenity is surprised to hear that Harathan is apparently praying for Jadis to heal the Elantrians. So do you think this show that Harathan is putting on will be another cornerstone in him completing Wyrn's demand of him?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Especially since he poisoned her with the same thing that he had.
Yeah, like he knew
So, like,
what was gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just like, if she leaves, I'm gonna, like, I'm quitting. I'm quitting. Like, I don't give a fuck if, like, I don't get to see the fucking end of this book. Like, if she leaves, I'm, like, done. Like, that's another fucking stupid ass decision I will not take. Like, I need Rowden to, like, tie her down to a chair and just, like, leave her there.
Do you expect her to really go back to Teod after everything that she said?
Yes.
So Galadon then picks.
If she doesn't, I expect if she doesn't, everything's gonna go to shit anyways. So.
Galadon then picks up a book about farming as he's trying to figure out a way for irrigation to work in Elantris. And Serenity then notes that Rowden had been working on the same Aeon for an hour, and Rowden says it helps him think as he's trying to figure out what is wrong with the door. Serenity suggests something is wrong with the land. Rowden teases her, asking if she had learned about Elantrian magic as a child, and she says no, she had learned about Aeons, and she'd been taught that all Aeons start by drawing Arelon, a line at the top for the coast, a line down the side for the Atad Mountains, and a dot for Lake Alanoe. Galadon and Rowden are both shocked by this, and Rowden draws an Aeon, and Galadon notes that the lines curve in exactly the way the coast and mountains do. Rowden says that though that the coast, mountains, and lake haven't changed, so why aren't the Aeons working? So were you surprised to learn how linked to the land the Aeons actually are, and does this give you any new theories about what is wrong with Aeon Door?
Yeah, the world is corrupted, so they're corrupt as well.
I'm so sorry. I zoned out, like, at the last part, because I was thinking about I was thinking about this theory, but it was playing out of my head, and I just, like, I hope I didn't lose it.
You lost it.
The question was, were you surprised to learn how linked to the land the Aeons actually are, and does this give you any new theories on what is wrong with Aeon Door?
Maybe it's, like, based on where that one Harathan's religion is not. You know what I mean?
Sorry?
Like,
or maybe it's because of Harathan's religion that those people are dying, becoming Hoeds.
Fuck. I really want to. Oh, right. That's what it was. So I was thinking, like, she's, like, gonna be healthy and everything, right? And she's probably not gonna want to leave because it's gonna, like, affect her health in, like, in a good way, right? So she knows fencing.
Oh no.
Yeah.
What if she's like, you know what? Let me just, like, train them a little here and there.
Oh shit.
Let me teach them how to be warriors.
Exactly, because I completely, like, glossed over the fact that she knows fencing, and that was, like, a huge part in the beginning of the story. So I'm just like, you know what? She learned how to, like, low-key be a better teacher because of that one dude, and then she also just learned how to be a teacher in general, and also, like, she knows fencing. So, like, they can't just, like, bring that up in the beginning of the book and just let it be right.
No, you're not right. You're never right.
I'm never right.
It's all gonna be wrong in the end.
If I am wrong, I'm gonna be so sad because that's such a waste of a fucking ability.
I agree, but it's not like he hasn't wasted good literary parts before.
Anyways, the original question was just, you have any new theories about Aeon Door?
Yeah, that was the theory about Aeon Door.
Is that fencing is gonna?
Yep.
Yeah.
Siri is going to somehow create. Nope. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, not really. I think, like I said, I think that maybe Harathan, the religion of whatever that Harathan is preaching is possibly the reason for the whole like corrupted world.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, what if like the reason why it's not working is because it's based on a map or whatever where like that religion was not there.
Mm.
Like, what if he has to reformat it to like to like the areas that are not like affected?
Yeah.
It's just like a like completely like wild guess though.
Isn't
So
that what we're doing here? Just wild guesses.
So Radin then looks over at Sereni and notices that her splotches are fading. Galadin asks what Radin did, and Radin insists that he did nothing. And then realizes that she never truly had been an Elantrian. He brings her to Elantris' gate and explains to her that Harathan did something to her to make her and him previously look like an Elantrian to stop her wedding to Royal. Sereni insists she doesn't want to go, but Radin states that Erlon needs her and notices the gates beginning to open. Radin then tells her that they can't afford to feed someone who isn't an Elantrian, trying to be harsh, but Sereni sees through it. He is then more truthful and says their food will run out and they will starve, and they will need someone on the outside. Sereni
Get more
insists
food.
get more food and supplies, and also like she's not able to starve like them.
She could.
I mean, she would die unlike them.
Well, yeah, but she still could starve.
I wonder if they would taste the same to her as they did to each other. Like if they try to cook them.
Wonder if they would try and cannibalize her. She might taste good.
But she does taste good.
Sereni then insists she will return as men take her away, pushing Raudin aside. Harathan stares at Raudin for a moment before leaving with Sereni. Do you think Raudin was right that Sereni couldn't stay?
Yes.
No, because I realized like she has Ash, right? So if she really wanted to survive there, she could just like contact the nobles or whatever that she was hanging out with and be like, you know what, send me like Subway or something.
Send me Subway.
Uber eats that shit, bro. Like,
send me Subway.
So that was the end of the final chapter.
Okay.
My voice is dying.
Any spoilers you'd like to give us?
No spoilers. I have the overview questions. So first one is, what do you think Sereni and the nobles will do now that Sereni is out of Elantris?
Die. Go down fighting.
I think they're gonna just try and focus on Elantrians and just like, you know,
Elantris?
help them out. Yeah.
So you think they're gonna give up on the throne?
For now.
Hmm.
I feel like this is where like she focuses on one side of like things, and then Dilaf takes care of the rest.
Do you think Raudin will be able to figure out the issue with Aeon Door now that he has some more basic information regarding how the Aeons are created?
Yep, hopefully he becomes a lantern. Got predicted.
I think he's gonna die. He should die. Let Solon die.
Oh my god. You're still hung up on that?
Yes!
My final question is, where do you think Harathan's storyline is going now?
He's gonna die
to the toilet.
I think they're all gonna die.
The whole world's gonna die.
Did you guys have any more thoughts about those chapters? Because that was all my questions.
Down with Elantris.
Oh.
What were you gonna say, Darkness?
I think like Radin really shouldn't have pushed her to leave.
Mm.
Why do you think that?
That was not the move. It's gonna help Harathan in like such like even more like because he was praying up there and he was like, you know, heal them, and then if she comes back, I'll heal them. What the fuck do you think they're gonna do? Like, they could have just taken care of her. She could have asked for help from Knowles or anyone else in general. Like, please.
Mm.
They could have done something in there together. They're gonna be separated. They're not even gonna like. They didn't even discuss each other. Like, I don't know. That's just a whole frustrating situation.
So next episode, we will be reading chapters 47 to 56. And chapter 55 will be the start of part 3 of the book. So that's the final part of the book. So we don't got too much left. And part 3 has a new Aeon, of course. The part 3's Aeon will be Aeon Rao, meaning spirit and essence. Also, the name of part 3 is the Spirit of Elantris, which is why they have the Aeon for spirit.
Spirit. The Spirit of Elantris, huh?
Yes.
I
And
wonder.
apparently that was actually going to be the original name of the book, and then he decided to split the book up into 3 parts and named part 3 that.
Has nothing to do with Rowden or anything.
Watch have nothing to do with routing. Like, actually.
Yeah, so those are going to be our chapters for next time, and then after that will be the final episode. So it's these chapters next week, and then the final week will be chapters 57 through 63, plus the epilogue and the postscript chapter. And yeah, and then we'll also be recording the Mistborn trailer in 2 weeks.
Mistborn.
So yeah, hopefully you guys are looking forward to it. The Sanderlanche will be upon
Mistborn,
us.
yes. Mistborn, yes.
Yeah. Mistborn, I think.
For the rest of this book, not really.
I think, I don't know. Darkness is more into this book than you are, Mythic. I think Darkness will definitely enjoy the end of the book. We'll see how Mythic feels. This hasn't been Mythic's favorite, which is fair. Not everyone likes every book. Everyone always has their favorites. Be back in a week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.